my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and today we are recommending books. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a couple of things. So I will be running through some of the information for Vaultathon and my Vaultathon TBR for this upcoming round 8. And then once we get through that, I'm going to be giving you recommendations for books that I think fit the prompts, but I'm not going to be doing it alone. I did have two very special guests that joined me to help film that video. So I'm going to tell you what I am reading, and then I will go ahead and cut to our recommendations. So it's going to be a little bit back and forth. Hang around for that. I will put timestamps below. If you're not interested in Vaultathon, feel free to skip that information and just go to where we're recommending you books. So the basics that you need to know about Vaultathon are that it is a Disney-based readathon where every round is themed around a different underrated or older Disney movie. This round, round 8, we are going to be focusing everything on Robin Hood, the 1973 version. I think Disney's been involved in a couple of different Robin Hood retellings, but we're talking about the one with the animals. The round will be running from September 13th through September 19th, and there will be a group movie night on the 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and a live show on the 19th, time to be decided. I have to check in with all of my hosts before we decide that. We also have a group book that fits all of the book-related prompts. That is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. This is about two people that are involved in a Game of Thrones fandom. One of them happens to be a fan, a cosplayer, that's this one over here, and then the other one happens to be an actor who plays a character on the show, but he is also secretly writing a whole bunch of fanfic because he's not quite happy with his character's ending, something like that. They end up meeting online due to things, and it goes from there. So the way Vaultathon works, there are usually some book-related prompts, some action-related prompts. This round we have 4 book-related prompts and 2 action-related prompts in addition to our optional challenge. The book-related prompts are Allan-a-Dale, and that is to read a book about a story within a story. The second prompt is Robin, and that is to read a book about a character who lives a double life. The third prompt is Outlaw for an In-Law, and that is to read a book with a fraught romance. Fourth prompt is Seize Him, and that is to read a book with high stakes. And then fifth prompt is one of the action prompts, that Sherwood Forest, read somewhere with ambiance. Sixth prompt is Getting Hitched, and that is to create a playlist for one of your favorite fictional characters. I will have the Vaultathon announcement video linked up top and in the description box, so you can look into things if you would like to. There's a little bit more information in them, but I'm giving you the bare bones of what you need to know to jump right in. So this readathon is meant to be low-key. Feel free to double up, triple up. Like I said, group book fits all of the book-related prompts. I, however, am physically, ethically, mentally incapable of being low-key when it comes to building TBRs for readathons. I just cannot do it, so I will be attempting one book for every single prompt. We will see how that goes. So the first prompt, Allan-a-Dale, for Story Within a Story. I think that was the one that was the hardest to find a book for, and those prompts, the hard prompts, are usually the one I use the group book for, so I will be reading Spoiler Alert to fulfill the prompt for that. We are here for the recommendations portion of this video. I have my lovely co-host Michelle, who will be on the live show with us, and then we have a special guest, Bethany, from
Beautifully Bookish Bethany.
Yes.
Yay. Because I have recommendations, and I was like, I could help.
Yeah, we were sitting there trying to figure out what's going on, and Bethany's like, I have, just telling us stuff. Just you could do this one, you could do this one. I was like, I haven't read that, I can't recommend it.
But I can.
Yes. So I will have both of their channels linked down below in the description box. Make sure that you check them out. They both have very good recommendations and talk about books and stuff. What do you mostly talk about on your channel?
So I do a little bit of everything, a lot of sci-fi fantasy romance, a lot of books by diverse authors. Yeah. That's a lot of what I do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you want to plug what you talk about on your channel?
Yeah, I read indigenous literature, romance, really anything that perks my fancy, so.
Mm-hmm. And she also does a lot of crafting and bullet
yes,
journal
I also
stuff.
do bullet journaling and things with snail mail, but more so bullet journaling.
You have a collection of pins that I would literally murder someone
It is
for.
literally a problem. I've tried every pen in the universe, I think.
That's
okay.
amazing.
All right, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to go through the prompts, and they both have recommendations, and we're each going to recommend one book.
Yes.
And then
You'll have a variety to choose from.
Yes, you will. You will have quite a variety. Okay, so the first prompt that is book related is Allan-a-Dale, which is to read a book that has a story within a story. I'm going to go ahead and let Michelle go first.
So I'm going to suggest White Bird by R.J. Palacio, and it is if you've read Wonder or you've seen the movie, you know that he gets bullied, and the boy Julian gets disciplined, and he gets sent home. So he calls his grandma, like tells her all about it, and she kind of teaches him a story about kindness and what it means to be kind in hard times. She starts talking about her time during World War II and in Germany, and her running away from the Gestapo and from the Nazi Germany, and like hiding out. And it is so, like, you just see things start to go from like everything was fine, everything was great, to like things were getting kind of scary, to straight up like I'm in an attic. So yeah, it's devastating, but it's so good, and the pictures, like the graphic novel, like the art is beautiful. So I highly recommend checking that out. And it's a middle grade, I think.
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so, you know, if you want to go with something probably easier to read, a graphic novel, if you want to, like, take on a tome, do I have a recommendation for you? It's fantastic. So I'm going to recommend Plain Bad Heroines by Emily C. Danforth. I freaking love this book. It's one of my favorite books last year. It is really long, but it's so good, and it has nested storytelling, so it's like a story within a story within a story within a story, which is kind of fun. It's super queer. It's gothic, kind of gothic horror vibes, but never gets super scary. So like the bottom layer, I guess you could tell, of the storytelling is there was a book that was published, and in like the early 1900s at an all-girls boarding school, girls start reading this book and weird stuff starts happening. So then later on, somebody writes a book about what happened at the girls' boarding school. And then in the other timeline, they're making a movie based on the book about what happened at the girls' boarding school.
Wow.
That's like 4 different stories.
I know, but it's like so good and really creepy, and it all is like female driven. All of the women are like bisexual or lesbians, and it's like, it's so good. I loved it. So
They're living out my gay dream.
I mean, it's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
All right, so the one I am going to recommend is kind of probably in the middle somewhere, which is, it's a contemporary romance, Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know by Samira Ahmed. It's got 2 different storylines. The main one is Kayum, and she is in Paris. Her family spends all of their summers in Paris, and she's got this theory that Delacroix gave Alexandre Dumas one of his paintings. And she's totally been wrecked because she tried to present this theory to someone, and they were like, that's absolutely not right. And she's like decided her life is over. She's in high school. You're just sitting there going, child, it's okay. It's okay. Your academic career is not over. You haven't even graduated yet. But she's sitting there, and she ends up running into the something great-grandson of Alexandre Dumas. And they decide to go on this like little kind of treasure hunt, trying to figure out if this is true, figure out the mystery. And so there's her storyline, and then there's the storyline of someone who is connected to this series of genre paintings. I don't want to spoil who it is, but it's really like interesting to kind of get Kayum's present day experience and then see the author giving story to someone who is voiceless in the original story that is the story is focusing on. So
I want to read that.
Cool.
yeah, it was really interesting. It was really interesting. There was like it's got a really like fast romance, but it's fast in the way that you can like, these are definitely hormonal teenagers not making the best decisions.
Fair.
So you're like, yeah, what? Okay. Yeah, this seems like a good place to be kissing. Okay. So I really enjoyed it. It was really good as an audiobook. The narrator is fantastic. So that one is my recommendation. I don't know how I'm going to get graphics on the screen, so I guess I'll just list all of these books down in the description.
We'll
So the second prompt is Robin Hood, and that is to read a book with a character who has a double life. There are several options that I have on my bookshelf that could work for that are specifically comics, but I am going to go with FMA Volume 6, possibly Volume 7. I may pick this up before because I love it, and I've been going through it, and it's just so wonderful and delicious and it's heartwarming. This is not about her. This is a story about 2 brothers that are alchemists, and when they were very, very young, they did something that has cost them parts of themselves. One of them has lost his leg and his arm. The other one loses his entire body. He's just a giant walking suit of armor. All that he is left is a soul attached to this suit of armor. So it's about the 2 of them looking for the Philosopher's Stone because they want to be able to get back their original bodies. There are a lot of people living double lives, including the 2 main characters, because not everyone knows why they are doing what they're doing. A lot of it is very secretive, and like they technically work for the military, but they're only using the military to like get closer to the Philosopher's Stone. So we'll see which one I'm on when we get there.
Character that lives a double life. Okay. I can't tell you a lot about the double life part because it's sort of spoilery, but just know that it fits.
We'll trust you.
But this is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. It is really good. Are all of my recommendations queer? No, 3 out of 4 of them are queer.
That's okay. You're filling a much needed gap on my channel.
Okay, so The Jasmine Throne is my favorite fantasy of 2021. It's really good. It is inspired by the history, mythology, and epics of India. It does have a sapphic romance in it, but it's a very politically driven story following a couple of heroines, one of whom is a princess whose brother wants her to unalive herself for reasons, and she refuses to do so, and so she is now being imprisoned at this old monastery where like stuff had happened. And the other main character, our heroine who lives a double life, is her like the one of the only people she gets to interact with, who's like her maidservant, but she has secrets of her own, and there's a lot of like politics and twists and turns and weird magic, and it's fantastic.
So I'm going to recommend Check Please. It is a graphic novel, and it is about a guy who is in his first year of college, and he is a YouTuber. He bakes, and he plays hockey, but also he is in the closet to like his team because he's had bad experiences talking about like the fact that he's gay, and then there's like a little romance that happens in there, and so it's like hidden and everything, and also it's like really wholesome because the character he's just a cinnamon roll bean. I just want to protect him with everything. It's great.
We stand cinnamon roll boys on this channel. They're the best boys.
I love cinnamon rolls.
My favorite are the ones that are like a little crunchy on the outside, and then you get to know them.
I was talking about cinnamon roll guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm literally like the guys that are a little bit like they're a little standoffish and like they've been obviously been hurt. And then when you get to know them, they're just absolutely a gooey mess on the inside, and you're just like, oh my god.
It's like the cinnamon roll got a little overcooked on the outside, but you just take the crust off and like it's all
those are the ones I would literally murder someone for those children.
I love that.
I am going to recommend We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizel. This is like a fantastic, epic fantasy that I just like. There's so much going on, but the main plot line is we have Zafira, who is kind of living a double life where like she lives with her village, but she's also secretly this hunter because she's going into this magical forest to hunt because that's how she's supporting her village. And then we have Nasir, who is a prince, but he has also been trained as an assassin, and so people kind of know, and like they end up meeting up because they're having to find this book to bring magic back to the land, and his job is to kill her once she finds the book. Oh. But of course, because it's a Margaret book, you know there's going to be kissing. Like the whole spectrum of what I consider kissing. Like there is just so much great romantic angst in this one. And I love the world building that Faizel does. I love the fact that she has like this great cast of characters that are just, they're fun. If you like witty character banter, this is a book for you because like definitely when you get into that, there are some characters that just really can send some zingers. So I loved it. I enjoyed it so much, and I need to get to the second book because the ending of the first book was not ideal. The third prompt is Outlaw for an In-Law, and that is to read a book that has a fraught romance. I'm going to be reading Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is about Anne Elliot. Yep, this is about Anne Elliot. She was in love with someone and engaged to someone many, many years ago, and her family was like, this is not a good match. You should not marry this man. He does not have money. And so she broke off the engagement, she listened to family, and then turns out he ends up being a big old naval hero, coming back a few years later, and like he's this big deal, and she really regrets everything at this point. She's very sad. Like, this book is just her being kind of like sad and conflicted because she's still in love with this guy, but he clearly like could do much better than her. Like, she is not in the best position financially like she was. It's wonderful. It's Jane Austen. This one just resonates with ya. She's old enough that she's considered an old maid, so anyone who's single, just read this book. Anne will commiserate with you. She will make you feel better and not so alone. Anyways, it's Jane Austen. We all know how it's going to end, but like the romance is just, there's a lot of trouble in Jane Austen romances. People just cannot get their stuff together for like anything.
So my recommendation is How to Stay by Christina Mitchell. It's a indie published debut, and I'm so excited to read more from her because it's like, it's so delicious. Okay, so this is a second chance romance. There's a lot of baggage there, right? So you have the heroine who left town when she was a teenager and went through a lot of stuff and is now a really famous rock star. But she found out her dad has died, and so she's returned to this. Yeah, so she's returned to the small town, you know, and she's facing her trauma. Meanwhile, there's her childhood best friend who was in love with her, and like she broke his heart when she like left without saying goodbye. And it's like them reconnecting and dealing with their baggage and trauma. Also, one thing that I really like about it that you don't see very often is you have a guy with like disordered eating and body issues, which I think is really interesting. He was like a fat kid when he was young, and then he's lost a lot of weight, but now he's like obsessive about like exercise and food and stuff, and he's really like insecure about his body. And like I liked the way that it handled that like all his problems weren't solved or whatever, like it kind of works through that stuff in their relationship. It made me cry so much, and like very few books do, as we were saying earlier, but I loved it. It was beautiful, like two broken people finding love and healing together. It's really good.
I love it when people bond over trauma.
I know.
Yeah, literally.
Mostly like helping each other work through trauma. Like, I just love it when two people like, yeah, I recognize that you are going through shit. I am also going through shit. It's the most romantic thing.
So I'm going to suggest for a fraught romance, an Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. And it is about a painter, and she does paintings for the Fae, and one day she paints somebody with human emotion, and that's a big no-no, and so he comes in the night to steal her away and goes to the castle to hold her accountable, but they slowly fall in love through this. And like it's just so angsty.
It's so forbidden.
So angsty.
Oh, it's so good.
And weird.
Yeah.
It is. It's a little whimsical in a
he's,
way.
He's like the Autumn King. So anyone thinking he has weaknesses, like this is going to have severe consequences.
Yeah.
So I loved that book.
Good.
That's
a good one.
It was one of my favorites. I literally read it in an entire day.
Wow.
It's not like that one's one that flies by.
Yeah.
I am going to be recommending one that you guys have heard me like rave about on my channel before, Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This is based on Korean mythology. The main character, Gumi Young, is a gumiho, which means she is a fox spirit, and her like the deal that the gumiho have is they have to devour the souls of people to stay alive. She's very conflicted about this. She doesn't like it, but she doesn't want to die also. So she kind of like has this thing where she will try and find people who are terrible people, and those are the people that she'll like devour their souls.
Wow.
And then on the other side, we have just a regular high school boy named Ji-hoon who gets into a little bit of supernatural trouble. Gumi Young notices it, and in the process of saving him from this supernatural trouble, her fox bead, which is basically her soul, ends up coming out of her. And so it ends up in Ji-hoon's possession, and she's going through all this stuff because now she's basically falling apart on the inside. It's not good that her soul is not in her body.
Oh boy.
So it's the two of them trying to figure out how to fix this situation, and also kind of falling in love in a very K-drama-esque way. Like when Kat wrote this, she specifically was writing in K-drama tropes. I loved it. There were some places where it got a little too much into the teenage part of the angst, not necessarily the romantic, but the teenage. But like,
yeah,
that's like, it's one of those things that I was like,
That sounds good.
I was like, those are teenagers though. It's realistic. But I enjoyed it so much. It got 5 stars. I loved it. So I recommend it to everyone because it's just such a good series, and I love the way that she manages to bring mythology and mix it with the modern, because she does it in a way that you can literally, like, you would be like, okay, so this seems like it actually would happen. You're expecting to find Gumi-hos like around the corner. So
wow, I have that at home, so I think I'm gonna try to read that. That sounds amazing.
nice.
no, it's so good. And then the final book-related prompt number 4, is Seize Him, and that is to read a book with high stakes. I will be reading Babylon's Ashes by James S.A. Corey. This is the 6th book in the Expanse series. This is going to be my audiobook. I am not emotionally prepared for this because I know certain things that are happening in this book. So not only is the book like high stakes because we have war in space, I do believe at this point, and things like people are going to get shot at and all of that stuff, but also there are high stakes for me because I am concerned about what's going to happen in this book. So I'm concerned. If you have not read the Expanse series, you don't know what it's about, I am not going to go into it because it's a lot. Like, it's basically like it's like part detective story, part like fugitive thing. There are space zombies, there's like subterfuge, there's war between Mars and Earth, there's the Belt who's just trying to get by and like wants Mars and Earth to stop fighting with this Cold War they've got going on, and like actually work on helping them, but they don't want to because it doesn't make them money, and like it's a lot of things, and I love it. The characters are amazing. So just, if you're interested in that, go check out my review that I did a couple of weeks ago for Leviathan Wakes / the entire series. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do, because I'm sure I did a much better job of describing what the book was about in that video.
My recommendation for high stakes is going to be A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy. That one, I got to read that like right after it came out. It was so good. It is a story about a girl who is, she's a princess and she has to fight her sister to the death. But she also has some very powerful...
To become queen. You look very confused.
No, I know. I'm just
like,
thinking, I know what that... I'm just sitting there thinking, going, wow, and I thought the competition between me and my brother was bad.
No, like, this is for the everything, and she has some very powerful, scary magic, and so does, I mean, her sister does too, but this was used by, the power that she has was used by a ruler that ruled, like, I think it was like 500 odd years ago or something like that, but she was scary, and she, like, wrecked some stuff, and so she's very afraid to use this magic, and she meets this guy that can possibly help her figure things out, and then there's also, like, a little itty bitty bit of romance in it, but it is also, I believe it's African inspired.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure which region, but like it is, for me it was so beautiful, but also very scary and very like action packed. And I flew through it within like 2 days.
That's a good high stakes choice.
It is it is
very
high stakes.
I mean death. So
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, mine is like not quite as high stakes, but still like has. Okay, so my recommendation is one of my favorite books from this year, because I was like, let me use this as an opportunity to just like push books I love on other people.
Isn't that why we have BookTube channels?
Like, you wonder why I do this on the internet.
Let me yell at you about
people
books.
on the internet.
Exactly. Okay, so my recommendation for this is Ace of Spades by Faridah, Àbíké-Íyímídé.
Yeah, we're reading that in December.
December
Finally,
1st.
finished this.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh my gosh. That one I flew through in like about a day and a half. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's pitched as Get Out meets Gossip Girl, which is 100% like accurate. It's like a horror-ish thriller set at an exclusive boarding school. There's 2 main characters. the only 2 black kids at the school, a boy and a girl, and they're both bisexual, so more queer content. And I don't really want to tell you what happens, but like, oh my god, this book. Could not put it down. Such a page turner, and like the stakes are very high, and it was phenomenal.
It's considered dark academia, right?
I mean, I don't know.
Or is it more a thriller?
What would you call it? I mean, it's like what they said is accurate. Like, it's like Gossip Girly in terms of like high drama, like private school. It's not a boarding school, but like a private school, high drama, like fancy kids private school stuff.
Okay.
Plus Get Out level of like thriller / horror and like racial stuff.
That sounds terrifying.
It's so good.
But
it's
amazing.
So good. Yeah.
I have yet to hear anyone dislike that book.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there that has, for legitimate reasons, but I have yet to, like, everyone who's read it has been like, holy shit, this is the best.
It's so good.
I am going to recommend the first book in what is currently my favorite series outside of Percy Jackson, and that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. Anything in space for me is automatically high stakes because you have a limited amount of oxygen. But the basic premise of this is we're following 2 characters. We have, I don't know his first name, but Miller, and we have James Holden. And Miller is a detective on an asteroid called Ceres, out in the belt. And he is he's trying to figure out why there's a woman that's disappeared. A very high profile family, one of their daughters has disappeared. He's trying to figure out that mystery. Jim is on a little like trawler that's going out to different planets and like taking ice so that people on the belt can have water, because obviously you have to supply people on not Earth with resources so they can not die. And so he's on this ship called the Canterbury, and they go out to look at a distress signal. And while he and the few people on that little bit of the crew are out there, the big ship that he came from, it gets blown up by what they think. By what they think is a warship from Mars, because Earth and Mars have just recently in the last couple decades like stopped a war between themselves. And so it's him and these 4 people on his crew trying to escape this Martian warship, and also Miller getting more and more into this mystery of the disappearance of this woman. And so it's part part space adventure, part detective novel, and I can't get into where the stakes just get higher as you go.
I'm terrified.
Yeah, you find out more and more stuff as you go, and it's one of those that the books are good, and they took what was in the books and they made the show even better, and I love the characters, and that the characters are so good. The crew that Jim works with, Miller.
I don't want to read that. Maybe I'll watch that.
Miller is an older man of a certain age with a certain attitude, so sometimes some of his observations.
You mean a boomer?
Something like that. Just more like,
space boomer.
You know that skeevy old man, that he's not terrible, but he'll say something off color?
Yeah.
So, I will warn you, the first book, if you are looking for, representation, especially when it comes to women, there are a lot of strong women in the story, but first book is 2 male points of view, and you're going to just be like, but there's so many men in this book. And then it gets better as you go on to the series, because the authors really took that criticism and said, okay, so then we are going to make sure that every book we have at least one narrator that is a strong, female character that is moving the story forward through her own actions.
Interesting.
So, I love it so much. I just finished book 5. It's my favorite book in the series. My favorite character got a point of view. I was so happy. So.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I describe it as space Perkabeth. So that's the relationship that's in there. So you know why I'm into it.
I haven't read the books, but I did watch the first season of the TV show, and it was very good.
Very close.
Yeah. My husband has started reading the books, so at some point maybe I and he's not a big reader, but usually a lot of what he does read is connected to TV shows he likes.
Yeah.
So he's reading the Witcher series
I'm
and
gonna do that at some point.
Expanse, so yeah.
So okay. So those are our recommendations for this round of Vaultathon. If you are looking for a last minute recommendation, go ahead, go check their books out. I'll have them all listed in the description box so that you can find them. And then we will send it back to future Margaret, who is gonna wrap this thing up for you. Alright, so that is it. That's my TBR and our recommendations for books to read for Vaultathon. I hope you found some fun stuff to put on your TBR. Even if it's not like for now, maybe if it's for later to check it out, I hope you found some good stuff to put on your TBR. I know there are a couple of that I will be adding on my TBR as I edit. I will have both Bethany and Michelle's channels linked down in my description box so that you can check them out. Thank you very much to both of them for helping me out with this little thing that's going on. If you are feeling chatty, please let me know down in the description box. What is one book that you would use to fulfill any of these prompts? Like any book you would recommend to fulfill a Vaultathon prompt, go ahead and leave that in a comment. If you are not feeling chatty and you want to let me know that you watched to the end of the video, feel free to leave me the fox emoji. I would be more than happy to just see little fox faces in my comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I have other videos that are over here that you may enjoy as well. Why don't you check those out? And if you enjoyed those videos, why don't you hit the subscribe button if you're new here? That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!
She's gonna have so much fun editing this.
Oh, yeah.